Hi, it's Elaine with MCPS Technology. So you've made a quiz in Google and you've deployed it as an assignment in Google Classroom. Your students have completed the quiz and Classroom has marked it as done. But where are the results to your quiz? At this point, even though Classroom will automatically mark it as done, it does not then transfer those grades over to the gradebook in Classroom. That has not happened yet. But what I would suggest is that you go to your stream and to the question mark at the bottom left and click Send Feedback and ask Google in their next update to please do that because that would be really helpful to all of us. In the meantime, though, I'd like to show you how do you find your quiz results so that you can then manually put them into the gradebook. So in order to find the results, we have to go back to the quiz itself. You can do that if you have your assignment where the quiz lives, or you can simply go to your drive and find the quiz. I know I was recently working on this quiz, so it's in my recent file, and I'll just double click on it. So this is the Montgomery County quiz that you recently took for me. I hope you did well on it. And at this point, I haven't deployed it to you yet. So I have taken the quiz 3 times myself just so that I could show you what it looks like to look at the responses to your quiz. So I'm in my quiz in edit mode, and anytime I'm in a quiz in edit mode, I have 2 words at the top. One says questions, and that's where I am right now. That's where all the questions are. And then I have responses. And if anyone has taken my quiz, then there'll be a number by the word responses telling me how many responses I have. Typically, I would have more than 3, but because this is just a test, I wanted you to see what this looks like. So if you click on the word responses, you'll then see that you can look at your summary 3 ways. You can look at the summary, you can look at it by question, you can look at it by individual. Okay, so we're just going to briefly go over the summary part. As you scroll down, you'll see that this is really designed to give teachers insight into their own assessments, and it's really useful. So I have an average here. The average score on my quiz was 66.67 out of 100, and then it gives me the median and the range. Down here I have a graphic of the points scored, of the range total points distribution, and I can see just by looking at this that I had one student that made a 40, one that made a 60, and then one that made 100. From there, I can look at frequently missed questions. So that would let me know, hey, this may be something I need to reteach, or maybe my quiz is flawed if everyone is missing this question. Scrolling on down, I can see the scores of individuals. Notice it places their username or their email by the score. So this is another reason why it's so important when you're setting up your quiz that you, in your settings, tell the quiz to collect the email. Otherwise, you will not know whose quiz is whose, and that will not be a good thing. Scrolling on down, you can look at your results by question, and it gives you a graphic, which is really useful. In fact, if I were, let's say I was going over an exit ticket or some kind of a formative assessment that I was using with my students, I could actually project these onto the smartboard and we could talk about the results and how we did and what we still needed to learn and that kind of thing. So scrolling back up, there's a couple of other things I'd like to show you. Remember in another video when I said that even though you set your quiz to grade itself, you don't necessarily have to let the students see their grade right away. You can release their scores later, and here is where you do that. So if I click here, I can check or uncheck any of these people, and I can send the scores just like that very easily. And just a few more things at the top I'd like to bring your attention to. This is the place where you turn your form on and off. So if you've decided you don't want to use this form anymore, or you have your data and you don't want it to change, you can simply click here and the form will stop accepting responses. Other things you can do here you can send your results to a spreadsheet. So this graphic area will remain here unless you clear the form, and here is where you do that. These three dots give you lots of options. You can do lots of things here, and you can look at these for yourself, but at the bottom it says delete all responses. So if you want to use this form over and over, but you don't want it to keep building up the data, then you can clear the form. But before you do that, it would be a good idea to send your data to a spreadsheet so you can keep it. So even if you clear your form, you'll still have your spreadsheet. So if you click the symbol, it's going to open a spreadsheet for you, and it will name it the same thing as the quiz's name plus the word responses. And you see that it opened it in a new tab. I can also have the option to send these results to an existing spreadsheet if I wanted to just collect all of my results, like for all of my classes in one spreadsheet. You can also do that. So when I go back to my drive and I know that this is in my classroom folder, I can scroll down and notice it places that response sheet right by the quiz in my drive. So they'll always be together unless I move that somewhere. So going back to my results, the wonderful thing about this is that it updates in real time. Let's say I had a student who was absent and he came and he took the quiz. These results would change, and also my spreadsheet would change. And that is the wonderful thing, among many other wonderful things about Google, is that data is living and it updates in real time. So that is where you find your responses. And what I typically do is just bring this up, and sometimes I split my screen and I just record these grades then in Google Classroom until Google updates its features, and hopefully we'll do that automatically soon. I'm sending you off now to make your own form and send it out to your students.